Art has 1,000 rules, a modern standard. If it did not, there would be no education around the many subjects creativity covers. Some artists are self-taught, but they got their knowledge still from somewhere or someone. While all this is nice, I think when it comes to art and storytelling, we allow the standard rule to have too much control over what we create. Hello, and welcome back to Make Your Comic Today, a week-by-week catalog of my journey to create a completed webcomic. This week was all about the arts, and not just the comics I create. Color theory and early foundations in animation were among some of the topics of which I explored. And it occurred to me just how much we, as creatives, live by a set amount of rules. Don't get me wrong, without these guidelines, most of us wouldn't even know where to start in art, but as we branch into more original ideas, say a story or personal project, these rules are looked at as a golden standard, while what we may be forced to create for the sake of our limits is seen as lazy. Let me explain. When I first made this short about Ivar and Mermaid, I figured it would end the same as all the others would. A simple narrative and a few panels to get the job done. Well, nearly 2 weeks later, we are still here, and I think I found out why. Backgrounds. In art, we are taught that these are the settings of which our reader will get all their information. Large shots like this one are known as establishing shots, while smaller images are the bare minimum of what we need to recognize an environment. But do you know what the bare minimum is? Me neither. I scoured the internet going from comic to comic, and I think almost every artist draws their background a little different. Some put a lot of detail and attention into every panel, no matter how small, while others don't bother with the background at all, and simply rely on the basics of color theory to tell their story. I don't believe any of these approaches are wrong, but by the rule of art, some are favored over others, at least at first glance. I wanted my background to have a depth to it that could only be achieved by drawing out all the details I could ever need. What I discovered instead was how much time it took me to do it. And it didn't look any better than the panels I made without any serious detail. Art might have rules and expectations, but you don't have to follow every single one just to tell your story. Same goes for the roughest of sketches. While I do believe there is an art to clean and clear line work, a sketch is still a first draft after all. I've neglected my webcomic work all this week, and what I came back to is a mess of thumbnail art that would make any professional cry. But it's my work, and I can still read it. No one else is gonna see it, except you guys. All I have to worry about is how I'll get all 20 new pages in a script by Monday. You'll never be perfect, but your art will shine brightly when you learn to let go. The second I set aside my ideals about background, I finished 2 comic pages in almost 3 days, because my goal wasn't to have perfect detail anymore, but enough to tell the audience my story. At the end of the day, that is what it's all about. And if this is how you can achieve it, you go for it. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed or happened to learn something along the way, let me know in the comments. My comics are currently available to read on Blue Sky, and you can learn more about the Ivar series by checking out this playlist right here. But as always, keep making stories, and I'll see you in week 6.